Good afternoon, Your Majesty. Today we are going to be creating your royal self-portraits. First, we're going to practice. Start by folding a sheet of paper in fourths. Fold it in half and then in half again, and unfold. You'll have 4 boxes to draw in. I have a little worksheet on the side that you can use to help you draw your self-portrait. Just follow the steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. You're going to start by drawing that U shape, ears, neck, and a shoulder. You'll add hair and your facial features. The nice thing about getting to do this 4 times is that each time you can try to do your hair a little different, make your features a little different, and that way you'll have some choices to choose from before you do the real thing. On the back of your sheet, you'll see lots of examples of faces. So check out the different ways you can draw eyes, nose, mouth, hair, and experiment with different ways of drawing every time you try. Now that you've had some practice, it's time to do the real thing. You'll receive a white piece of paper. Start with that U shape and make sure it's bigger than your fist. We don't want these to be itty-bitty tiny drawings. Continue with the steps of drawing your entire face and make sure to take up all the space on your sheet of paper. We're going to be using chalk pastels to color in your portrait. First, you need to find the right shade for your skin tone. Everyone might choose a different shade because we are all different, and that's what makes us special. So start by choosing the skin tone that best matches you, and then color in the neck, face, and ears. You don't have to color it perfectly because in a minute we're going to be blending in the color with your fingers. As you can see, I am blending now, but I'm only using one finger. I want to keep the rest of my fingers nice and clean. If you notice, as I go along, all those little white spaces get filled in as I blend. Gives a nice even coat, and that's what we're looking for. Just be careful because these pastels can get a little messy, so you want to try your best to stay in the lines. After you've blended the first color, continue coloring to match you, and every time you fill in a space, you'll blend with a different finger. Remember, try to stay in the lines and only use one finger at a time because we're not going to wash up until we're completely finished. Especially if you use darker colors for your hair or shirt, you need to make sure that those fingers that have that chalk do not touch any other part of your portrait because they will smear. After you wash up and I spray your portrait with a fixative, now it's time to cut it out. Every king and queen should have a royal crown. So you will receive a small piece of thin metal and a wooden stylus. You can draw on this metal with that wooden stylus. Every time you draw, it leaves an indentation into the metal. Now you won't be able to erase because you can't really undo the grooves that you're putting into the metal. Once you get the outline of your crown, then I want you to keep decorating with that stylus, and you can add shapes and lines to give your crown some more interest and detail. Once you've filled your crown with lots of detail, you're going to go through with your scissors and cut out that crown. Be very careful while you're cutting because not only are your scissors sharp, but now the edges of this metal can be sharp as well. Just keep your fingers away from those sharp points. Once you've finished cutting, it might be a good idea to place your crown on top of your portrait to make sure it fits. If it's too big, you can always trim the edges or cut it down to a different size. Now that everything's been cut out, we need to add our name and class code on the back. So you're going to write your name and class code on the back of your portrait with a pencil. Don't use a Sharpie because it will bleed through. But on the back of your crown, you will have to use Sharpie to write on top of that metal. Name and class code. Now it's time to make a fancy frame for our portrait. Put your name and class code on the back of the paper of your choice. And we're going to use these mosaic tiles to create a frame. Start by untwisting a bottle of glue and pouring a thin line across one side of your paper, not too close to the edge. Now you can go through and pick out the color tiles that you would like to line them along that line of glue. You'll want to leave a little bit of a space in between each one. They don't need to be right next to each other. Now it's time to add some bling to those frames. Come over to see me and I'll shake some glitter all over your frame and it'll stick to the parts where the glue is still wet. Finally, it's time to put this all together. You're going to use glue stick on the back of your cutout self portrait. Watch how I am going around the entire edge and using plenty of glue. We don't want your image to come unstuck. You're going to glue the portrait down right on the middle. Be careful not to rub your hand over the front too hard because we don't want that chalk to smear. Just apply nice, light, even pressure with your hand. In order for our metal crown to stick, we're going to have to use a stronger glue. You will receive this tacky glue, and you're going to put a ribbon of glue around just the edges. Then you can go ahead and attach the crown. You can either put it straight up and down, or if you want it a little crooked, that's fine too. You also have the option of adding some rhinestones to your piece. You could add them on the crown. Girls, you could try them out as earrings, or they could even be as part of the clothing, like buttons on a shirt. Once you decide where you like them, glue them down with that tacky glue. And voila, you are done, your royal self-portrait.